What's a ballpark figure the COVID-19 pandemic has had on your business or on your life? Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, and our idiom, our expression today is ballpark figure. Well, what's a ballpark figure? It's a really common expression, at least it has been my whole life. It became popular in America in the 1960s for sure. The Air Force, the United States Air Force, and NASA began using it regularly, and so did commentators in the sport, especially baseball. It meant that commentators would look around the stadium as there was a baseball game or some kind of an other sporting event, and they would estimate the number of people in attendance. And so ballpark figure became popular here in America, but it's actually a worldwide term now. It just means a rough estimate of some kind of a numerical figure, a rough numerical estimate, commonly used by accountants, salesmen, or any professional that wants to speculate on the current or future financial position or situation or number. And I use ballpark figures a lot in my life and in my career. I still do today. And I'm curious, and I'd like to, and I haven't done it yet personally, but I'm going to now think about and come up with a ballpark figure for the impact that the COVID pandemic has had on my business and my life personally. And I invite you to do the same, because a lot of times we don't look at these things. Now, I know people that are all across the board with respect to the impact that it's had on them. I know people that have been financially devastated, as well as people that have made a small fortune and a not so small fortune because of the pandemic. The pandemic and the changes in the world that happened as a result of it. Whole new industries have been born. Other industries have been devastated by the pandemic. But it's always valuable, at least in my opinion, to step back sometimes and say, okay, what has the real impact of this been on my business? Because sometimes I talk with people and they're really surprised. They're like, here I lost my job and this happened and that happened and my kids were at home, but I turned around and I did this thing online that made me a couple of $1 million. I never would have done it. I never would have had to do it to support my family if the pandemic hadn't happened. The pandemic gave a lot of us excuses to take action on projects and plans and ideas that we'd wanted to do for a long time, but we just hadn't pulled the trigger on. We hadn't done it. So curious, ballpark figure, impact, positive or negative, in your life so far due to the pandemic. Ballpark figures, I've used them and had bosses request that I come up with a ballpark figure, almost immediately for a lot of different things, for budgets, for budget items. Hey, what do you think your expense for office supplies is going to be this year? Because we always did a great big one by division. We would do what do we need our office supply budget to be? So everybody just threw their numbers at my boss. He accumulated the numbers, and that was our budgeting number for things like office supplies, things like things that we didn't have anything to do with. The janitors, everybody did the same thing with respect to that. I have done a lot of ballpark figures and throwing things up against the wall and seeing what's stuck in the real estate industry, in the real estate market. I was a real estate agent and broker at one time in my life, and my ex-husband and I had several businesses where we would rehab, we'd buy distressed, damaged properties, we'd rehab them, and then we'd turn around and sell them. So we would have to go in and in one walkthrough of a property, come up with our ballpark figure of what we thought it was going to cost to rehab that house, what we thought it would be going for on the market after repaired value, after we fixed it and did everything we needed to do and marketed it. What did we think we could make? And we would have to do that before we ever even made an offer on the property. So there's a lot of businesses and a lot of things that we do that in. We do bidding, the bidding process. There's whole industries that are predicated and structured on going out and making bids. A lot of coaches that I know do excuse me, they do discovery calls, and then they bid out or give the people that they're going to work with either their going rate or a ballpark figure of what it's going to cost to have them help you solve a problem. So how do you use ballpark figures in your business and in your life? To me, it's just a way of getting a rough idea of whether I want to investigate something further or not. Am I going to look into this business? Am I going to look into this situation? If I know your ballpark figures, I can help you decide where do you spend your time and energy to get the best return on your invested time and energy, things like that. So, curious? Share in the comments below how you see or use ballpark figure. Have you ever used it? I definitely have. I'm like, hey, give you a ballpark figure, what that's going to cost to get that particular project done. Said that probably hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. I need a ballpark bid. I need your bid for this, and then send it to me, and I need your quote. It's an approximation or an estimation of some numerical value. So that's it. Gives you something to think about today. Impact of COVID so far on your business or on your life. For the most of us, it's been a little over a year now, so it's a good time to look back. Most people just did their taxes. It's another way to look. And look at the impact. I think more people are going to be surprised at the impact, the cost, the overall cost figure, if we have a ballpark idea of what's going on in our life. What we measure, we pay attention to. What we measure matters, and so it's important. All right, have an awesome day. I will, of course, be with you tomorrow with another interesting idiom. What does it mean? Where does it come from? How might you use it in your business and your life right now? Take care.